So why don't we get this episode and your weekend started? And here we go. As always, we have our beautiful Flashback Friday. This one's going to take us back, once again, into the 90s. And this week, I showcase a set that I am sure you are not going to be very shocked about. With this set consisting of 420 cards, it was a pretty fancy set, according to me, as a youngin'. This week, I showcase the wonderful set of 1992-93 Pinnacle. I couldn't count how many times I mentioned on this show how much I liked the dark cards, and this was the premier set that introduced me to dark cards. It was also one of very few packs that I ever bought. As a kid in 1992, going to a small, very small mall in Hanmer, Ontario, and walking into their pharmacy and noticing these jumbo packs. No idea where I got the money from, but I had money and bought one pack. To this day, I still remember exactly what I was thinking when I opened this pack. I revealed those cards and I was just in awe. The fact that they had gloss on them, I was kind of like, holy man, these are nice. On top of all that, I was shocked because there was actually an insert in there. And as I mentioned before, I never really got any really solid hits or anything of that nature in the very limited amount of packs that I opened as a kid. So you better believe I took extra care of that one insert. Oh yeah. This Pinnacle release had two versions. Of course, the Canadian and the American. The very interesting part about this set was that there was more changes than just the different types of languages on the back. The Canadian release had a bilingual back, and the American was strictly English. But they took it a little step further. The Canadian and US version of the following cards had different photography. Card numbers between 1 and 220 and 271 to 330. And if that wasn't enough to make a little bit of a change, well, the name bars on the back could also give away what version that you had if you weren't paying attention to the languages on the back and you didn't know what version of the photo you had. By simply flipping the card to the back, if it was a pink name bar, you had the Canadian version, and if it was teal, you had the US version. Although the design in itself wasn't super spectacular, sometimes simplicity just does the job. That really cool gradient name bar in the front was pretty cool. Looked really good, especially with that black background. On top of which, the player image often popped out of that box in the background, which really added a nice touch. The most noteworthy rookies of that release at the time was Roman Hamrlik, Andrei Kovalenko, always like saying that name, and Martin Straka. On to the insert sets. Team 2000. This 30-card set, of course, again, Canadian and American variations. Canadian being bilingual, and of course, the US strictly English. And instead of only having a select number of different images between both versions, the front image of the entire set on either version were entirely different. And that subset highlighted some of the greatest players in the game at the time. But we cannot forget Team Pinnacle, a very tiny set of only 6 cards. Although each card had no backs in the sense of statistics or even a write-up. Randomly inserted into packs at a ratio of 1 per 125 packs. If you got one, you were pretty happy. It's probably a good idea to mention that these were actually not photographs. They were paintings by an artist by the name of Christopher Greco. They were pretty well done paintings. And very similar to the base set, if you were unsure of what variation you had, whether it was the US or the Canadian version, you could just look at the title If it was in teal, you knew it was from the US, and red or pink was the Canadian version. In my childhood days, this set was pretty awesome, not to mention a little fancy. But even to this day, you could still find the odd box to rip open some packs and pull out some pretty awesome Hall of Famers. And that concludes our Flashback Friday.